The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, the latest entry that finally puts Princess Zelda herself in the starring role. Nintendo has crafted an adventure that's refreshingly innovative. So this time around, instead of getting the Master Sword and Shield, we're giving Echoes, or we're giving the companion Tri, which allows us to summon different echoes, meaning we can mimic different things we learn around the world. Such as early on, we learn a rock that we can use to manipulate and solve puzzles with, rather than the sword and shield that we just slash our way through each challenge. The use of the echoes, being able to summon different things, it's the main mechanic in the entire game. It's how you solve puzzles, it's how we fight. If you can imagine Pokemon, where you summon your Pokemon into battles, but think of it in a Zelda mindset of you're summoning things out of these magic echoes using the Tri-Rod, and you can fight the different monsters. A lot of times I like to stick to one or two different monsters, or I say monsters, but I mean enemies. I stick to one or two different enemies that I've learned. Each solution is completely unique to every puzzle. You don't have to solve a puzzle in one way. If you find or think of a way to use your echoes, you can do it. And that's what makes this game like incredibly refreshing. All right, in Echoes of Wisdom, players can interact with echoes in two distinct ways, depending on their use in puzzles or in combat. So you can summon echoes. Players can conjure echoes using the Tri-Rod. These echoes represent duplicates of items, creatures, or environmental elements, and can be summoned directly from Zelda's collection. For example, you might summon an echo of a monster to assist in battle, or structure elements to solve a puzzle. The versatility allows multiple approaches to challenges, making experimental key. If you can imagine it, you can go for it. Echoes can also be bound. This mechanic is crucial for manipulating the environment or enhancing Zelda's abilities. For instance, binding a fire echo to a weapon might allow you to burn obstacles. Like I would set the spiderwebs on fire all the time. While binding an echo of a moving platform helps traverse gaps. So you can bind something that's auto-scrolling in a sense, and it will move you across a gap or wherever you need to go. This binding mechanic makes echoes more adaptable for solving specific dungeon challenges. So both methods emphasize creativity, with many puzzles and battles offering multiple solutions depending on how you utilize and combine echoes. In Echoes of Wisdom, there's no right or wrong way to solve a puzzle. There's no right or wrong way to beat a boss. It's whatever you want to do, whatever style you want to encompass. For instance, on a lot of the reviews I was watching, it seemed like everybody was using the bed that you get, and like one of the first echoes you learn is a bed, and it's incredibly useful. It being a larger object, is light so it floats, and it's stackable, so you can stack a bunch and then you can make staircases for yourself. But I thought, I want to try something different. I want to take a different style and not just use the beds for everything. Well, after a little while, I realized how quick and simple it was, and sometimes I just wanted to get through a part. I fell back to using the beds. But you didn't have to. You could have used many different things. Like for instance, if I wanted to get up a high wall, I would summon, I call them the spiders. I know it's not a spider. I summon the spider, and then I would use the binding technique and let the spider run up the wall while I was attached to the spider, so I can get to that higher area I otherwise couldn't. Over time, you learn a lot of echoes, upwards of 60 different echoes, and the management system isn't the best. I don't have a solution. I don't know how you can make the management system any better, so I'm not going to hit on it. I'm not going to say it's a bad system, just not something that I really enjoyed going through. I would flip through the different menus trying to look for the echo I'm looking for. But there's one for last used or last learned. and I would try to find when I did last. I'd try to figure out where I last used it or where it would be the closest, but sometimes I found myself flipping through almost all the way to the end looking for the proper echo I wanted to use. It can be kind of a pain. However, I didn't think it was too bad. If I don't have a solution for it, I can't say that I could have done it better. So it is what it is, and it's part of the game. However, when you are looking through an echo, it does pause the outer world or the actual world, what's going on. It's in a sense like a pause menu, just like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's the same style menu. So everything in the outside world pauses, and you can take a minute to pull out whatever item you want, whether it's you're summoning a different echo, eating food to regain hearts, or drinking a smoothie to get your hearts back. Whatever it is you need to be in the menus for, the outer world stops, and it does make it a lot easier to manage going through all your different menus. You're not rushed, you're not in a hurry. So speaking of the world pausing during the menus, let's talk about the world. So they reused the same engine from Link's Awakening's remake that they've done on the Switch. So everything's really bright and round. Everything just looked round to me. It's very charming in a modern aesthetic. I very much enjoy it. However, it's clearly dated, or I guess the Nintendo Switch is clearly dated, where there were a bunch of frames that I noticed. I noticed the game was chugging along at times. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't incredibly smooth, not like something I'm playing on my Series X or my gaming PC. But we can't really fault that. The Nintendo Switch is getting old. I mean, it came out in early 2017, and I'm still rocking my original one as I just keep it docked, so I don't really need the extra fancy Nintendo Switch. It is what it is. The one thing that does really bother me is on the edges of the screen, it looks like it's smeared in Vaseline. The entire the screen isn't crystal clear. If you look at the bottom, sides, and top, it's blurry. And that honestly bothers me. So when I'm playing handheld on I also have a Nintendo Switch Lite. When I'm playing on that, it doesn't bother me so much as the screen's much smaller. But when I'm playing it blown up on my TV or my 80-inch projector, I very much do notice the blurry edges to a point where I have to purposely not look at those edges. If you've ever driven a car and say a bug splatters right in front of you on a windshield, or if there's a chip in the window in a windshield, you have to like lean a certain way so you don't see that right in your way, because you could look through it and over time you're going to forget it's there. But when you're thinking about it, it's the most annoying thing in the world. You can't think about anything else. You're focused only on that one thing in your vision, in your way. And that's how I felt about the blurry edges and the blurry screen. And maybe that's what they have to do to make this game work on the Nintendo Switch. But it bothered me. That's probably the biggest issue I had with this game. It was how it ran and how it looked just on the edges. The center of it, the actual focus looked fantastic. I very much like the art style and how it looked. So moving on to the dungeons. The dungeons were unique in their own, as you're not going in there and fighting with a sword and shield. You're going in thinking of how you can manipulate your echoes to get from one side to the other. A lot of times the dungeons, you'll walk down a staircase and you'll go from a top-down view to a side-scrolling view, and it turns into a little platformy type deal. We got to get across a cavern, or you got to go through some tunnels that are full of water with a couple enemies, nothing too big, but you got to move things around. And it's all, again, around the mechanic of using the magical tri-rod, summoning your echoes to figure out the puzzles. Now, if you think of this game as just a puzzle game, and if you removed the Zelda from it, it'd still be a fantastic game. The dungeons are set up very similar to most every other Zelda game, where there's different secrets and places to go for you to find keys, and then eventually find a boss key, and then you go fight a boss at the end. It's very much in the same sense. However, again, you're still using that magical tri-rod as the main mechanic and manipulating things to get where you need to go. As the dungeons are all very good, as they're all echo-based challenges that rival some of the best in the series, the bosses kind of fall flat. They can often be beaten without much strategy at all. You could just overwhelm them with your best echo and just have them fight, and all you have to do is avoid whatever attacks are coming. But that's part of the game too, and part of its charm. You don't have to run in there and make it hard for yourself. If you found a way to make it easier, by all means, that's your choice. That's your play style. Basically, you can cheese this game very easily, meaning you can find a way to exploit the game in a very, very simple way. So let's move into the story. The whole story of this is these rifts are taking over Hyrule, and they've captured Link right when Link was defeating Ganon in another fight. And the rifts popped up all over Hyrule, pulling different key people and key locations into a rift, or also a still world. So you and Try, it's your companion, kind of like Navi is in Ocarina of Time. It's your fairy in a sense, but she's an echo, and she's what allows you to summon the different echoes, right? The different enemies or whatever you've learned. You're echoing, you're mimicking that character or that object. So you have to go and repair these rifts. The only way to repair the rift is going into the rift. And typically, you'll go into like 2 to 3 rifts in each section. A lot of them, the first one you find and get into is a smaller rift where you go through, you save a handful of people, and then you go to the larger rift in that area, and then that becomes the dungeon, and you have to fight the boss at the end of that dungeon to repair that rift. The main thing in this one, and well, the main thing in the Echoes of Wisdom is, as you're Zelda, you're saving Link and saving Hyrule at the same time. As the writing is heartfelt, with side quests offering humor and occasional depth. However, Zelda's own arc feels unexplored, kind of leaving the emotional climax less impactful than it could have been. Zelda didn't really have too much of a story, or she kind of was just Zelda from the beginning to the end. It wasn't a coming of age story. It wasn't, hey, Zelda's always been there to do this. It was kind of like, well, okay, Zelda, this is our next task. Let's go do that. Or we have to go save this person. Okay, we'll do that. I mean, it wasn't like a fetch quest or any of that. Just more or less, Zelda as a character wasn't brought deeper. And I think Nintendo might have missed a really big opportunity. Speaking of things that make you feel something, the soundtrack, absolutely magic. With a lot of familiar Zelda music, you know what I'm talking about. If you know Zelda music, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was very familiar, but also entirely new compositions. Everything was performed by a live orchestra. The music really made you feel something. When it was nice and peaceful and chill, you felt it. But when it was time to fight and time to go, you definitely felt it. I felt a lot of times my hands getting sweaty, and I'm thinking, man, this music really pumping me up. Every now and then when I was playing on my own and I had headphones on, the music really hit good. It's worth playing with headphones. I truly appreciate the work that went into it. So Nintendo went out on a limb here. They actually put Zelda in as the main protagonist, and Zelda has proved, or Nintendo has proved, that Zelda can be the main protagonist in a Zelda game. Kind of funny to say. It doesn't always have to be Link saving Hyrule. Zelda can hold her own, and I think Nintendo absolutely nailed that one. Nintendo hit on this one, delivering a mix of nostalgia and innovation. It wasn't perfect, like I had said. I say if you're a fan of Zelda, I strongly suggest giving this game a try. With Echoes of Wisdom's creativity, charm, and overall fun, I highly suggest any Switch owner pick this game up and play. So now y'all gotta tell me what you think. How did you like Echoes of Wisdom? Why didn't you like it? What are you waiting are you waiting for it to go on sale? What you think of this game below? We can have a discussion, please. Let's talk about it. And I hope you all have a great day.
Goodbye and thank you for watching.